problem. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say nation. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Ibom.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matter.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in course of them.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
On 36 Startimes. My name is Anthony Ebu. You're listening to the program called Legally Speaking, and this is the 2022, the last edition for 2022. We're opening the phone lines straight away. I have with me in the studio Ikemini Udum, a legal practitioner. Ikemini, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Tony.
All right, a lawyer, but a teacher. So, Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I have Etini Basi. Etini Basi is a legal practitioner with law partners and uncertainties, and we'll try to do a recap of some of them, some that made the headlines. A lot of things up to yesterday are still making headlines. So we'll share that with the public, and phone lines I say are open. You can call the number 090-222-31011. The alternative number is 070-454-17707. So you can call any of those two numbers. That's the most recent news. We have 10 newly sworn in magistrates in Akwa Ibom State. Some of them are sworn in as chief magistrates, some as magistrate grade 1. Let's tell we wish them hearty congratulations for the feat.
Chinonyelum Diamond Akwanika. She has been sworn in as a magistrate, chief magistrate. Peace Godwin Edemeko, 18 years Solomon. Imabong Ifyok Ukana, Ifyok Sunday Ubom, Ubong Obasi Fidelis Oduike, and an Ifyok Ubot. And congratulations to them.
Yeah, it's a high time we've had more people go into the bench, magistrates, high courts, customary courts of appeal, which I think we call paying judges. The bench needs to be populated. There's been some judges and magistrates that have retired, and there's not been replacements for them. So we go to some courts and they are empty, and some the few courts that are active, they
Elected magistrates, and I hope they do right to do justice to everybody in the society. Yes, it's true that the judicial system appointments going on, I feel those spaces will be filled.
And I'm not sure you are familiar with the setting of the appointment of magistrate, but at least you have an idea on what happens when one is elevated.
What happens to them?
Nothing, they just become elevated and they start to.
So congratulations to them.
All right.
Yeah, let me just say something here. I actually, having congratulated these gentlemen that have been sworn in today, I actually expected to have more number of persons appointed as magistrates in the states. I know that a lot of people applied, not less than 100 lawyers qualified. And remember that they post call, but I thought that lowering it to 2 years post call was to make it possible for a lot of qualified persons to be recruited to the lower bench of this state. As practicing lawyers, we've had situations where we see one magistrate covering 3-4 other courts in 4 local governments, 3 local governments. And so the magistrate is unable to sit every day, whereas that work should be a daily work on one particular station. You sit on Monday through Friday, or at least from Monday to Thursday, and crisscrossing the state like that. And I think that that is not healthy enough. I would have expected us to have more than 10. For me, 10 is very small. It's still not going to solve that problem of lack of manpower for that tier of the judiciary in Akwa Ibom. So I am 40 And Akwa Ibom can cater for that as an oil-rich state.
Oh, that's good to say oil-rich state, but it's also very important that we inform or remind you that the customary courts, district courts are not sitting for upwards to 1 year now.
Not even upwards to 1 year, it's 1 full year now, because they stopped sitting in December last year. Why? Because the chairman is a lawyer, and the 2 members are lay persons, maybe retired secondary school teachers, retired primary school teachers, people that have done all that, who is the chairman. And their tenure is 2 years. You are appointed for 2 years. After that tenure, after the tenure of the last court sitting members, the Akwa Ibom state government and the judiciary of Akwa Ibom has not recruited new members.
Has not recruited or has refused to recruit.
Well, for me, has not recruited new members to sit with the chairman. And what's the other side of it? These chairmen are at home on a daily basis. They don't go to work because they cannot function alone. And I'm personally disappointed that for 1 year, that's very important tier of the judiciary in Akwa Ibom, because that's went on. People could not access justice until today. Akwa Ibom State Judiciary, in partnership with the Akwa Ibom State government, has abandoned that court for 12 months, and the bar in Akwa Ibom has not deemed it fit to even suspend appearances in court for even 1 week.
To drive home the point.
To drive home the point.
Well, without wanting to apportion blames, I was very careful when you said the Akwa Ibom State can afford it. And part of the complaints I've had is that Akwa Ibom State government complains that there is no funds to reconstitute that level of adjudication. But be that as it may, we want to call on the Akwa Ibom State government and the Chief Judge of Akwa Ibom State, Honorable Justice Feberogut, Ikaite Feberogut, to make it expedient, to see it as important to re-energize that sector of the judiciary. It is so bad that we cannot be wasting funds paying people that are not working because we have refused to give them the tools to work with.
All right. The new ones were recruited some months ago.
They have not been enabled to work.
So they were recruited to join the ones at home to sit at home.
Yeah, recruited and they're in comatose. Nobody has emboldened you. All right, gentlemen, let's skim through. Before we go down, the numbers are open. You can make your call and contribute to whatever we've done throughout the year. We're looking at 2022 in retrospect. 0902-223-1011. I repeat that number, 0902-222-31011. There was a number to call. It will be 070-454-17701. So I repeat that number again, 070-454-17101, right? Okay, so let's see. Let's start with Johanna. You've been throughout in legally speaking for 1 year now. What would you say caught your imagination or attracted you, caught your fancy? This storyline, this particular case that we discussed within the year, just whatever. Because as it starts, if you want to start from yesterday, it's still within the year. If you want to start from January, there are lots of things that happen in the National Assembly. There are lots of things that happen in the State Assembly. There are lots of things too that happened even in the judiciary. A lot of issues on ex parte applications, and like for instance, I recall that there was this issue of what was that ex parte order?
The one I recall
is it status quo?
The one I recall is Wike.
Okay.
Declaring somebody to be no longer an ex-governor.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that was Governor Celestin Omeha,
yes,
who became governor and stayed for a very short period of time. And over time, he has always been recognized by the government of Rivers State as a former governor and given all the perquisites of that title. But Wike came and said, for God's sake, you're no more a former governor.
And there was a Supreme Court ruling that said you came into the back door. Yes. And you were kicked out, yes. Even when you had spent some time in the government house and your colleagues.
And it was the same Governor Wike who declared him governor,
yes.
Ex-governor, and yet decided that he's no longer an ex.
Strange things did happen in Nigeria, Akwa Ibom State and the rest, and that was one of the strangest ones. And nobody could say anything about it because for that qualification, it has to be a legal issue. Now, you qualified him as an ex-governor. That was an illegality.
Well,
and one should be ashamed to eat his words and say you're no longer because you're out of favor with me.
So perhaps Wike ought to have first apologized to the people of Rivers State for giving him that recognition in spite of the decision of the Supreme Court. But he didn't do that. He just woke up and said, you are no more. The House of Assembly also did the same thing. The same House of Assembly that had passed a law recognizing him woke up and said they're not recognizing him anymore. Yes, they revoked the other law and then said they're not recognizing him anymore. So that for me shows the thin line between politics and every other thing that goes on in society. Yes, because if the leader does not like your face anymore, through politics, he can revoke the right of occupancy of the house that you are living in and says he wants to use it for overriding public interest.
You remember, very recently, a legislation was made that forbade having campaign houses in the residential areas.
Yes, in Rivers State.
In Rivers State still.
A lot has happened in Rivers State.
And he got a court order to seal up the property, which was housing the presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party because he doesn't like the man's face.
A lot has happened in Rivers State in the last
so 1 year. Would you say that's how law is supposed to be?
No, that's not how law is supposed to be.
So how is it supposed to be?
When a law is made, people are supposed to follow that law. People are supposed to abide with that law, and even when enforcing it, it's supposed to be enforced the proper way. It shouldn't just be because the Supreme Court told you, don't make this person, this person is no longer an ex-governor. All of a sudden, you just flouted the Supreme Court's decision and then made the person an ex-governor. Then along the line, you're just tired of the person, like maybe the person offended you or something. You decided to say, you're no longer an ex-governor. You're not fit to be an ex-governor. Return the money that we gave you during that time.
Paid in the period. Like Akwa used to say,
if it was improper, how it worked was legislators, lawmakers, they made a law and said this man is. And then they made another law and said he isn't. It's all about making laws and on making new ones. When you say it's not the proper way to do law. Okay, there was a Supreme Court decision.
Yes, there was.
I know. That's what I'm saying. There was a Supreme Court decision. Why wasn't something done, or is there nothing that could have been done for the fact that?
Very simple, impeachment. That was gross misconduct. The governor ought to have been impeached. But yet, the people that were impeaching.
Which governor are you talking about?
Okay.
The governor of Rivers State.
But the people that were supposed to impeach him are the ones that aided and abetted the crime. Now, asking him to refund the money that he legally got because there was a law empowering him to get the money or the payments. Until that law was set aside by them, he did what he did in his official capacity. In a legal capacity. So if you now have a law that says I'm no longer, why would you ask me to refund the money I got legally? Because he was empowered by the law to be receiving those stipends. All right?
Well, I don't think Wike was serious about asking the man to refund the money.
How would you know?
And I'm sure that the man has not taken him serious at all, as regards refunding the money and returning the vehicles that were given to him lawfully, as you have said. You see, the problem with this country...
Sorry, let me go. Fine, he hasn't refunded the money. He says he's okay with that, but at the moment, is he still receiving more money? More pension? He's not.
I think he's not receiving anymore because there is a law now which says you are no more an ex-governor. You may be ex-something else, but not ex-governor in Rivers State. The line between the executive arm and the legislative arm in this country is almost not in existence. It is just the fact that it's the constitution that says section 4 is for the legislature, section 5 is for the executive, and 6 is for the judiciary. Apart from that, those sections, I do not see in reality any line dividing.
So you're almost saying that the Speaker of the State House of Assembly are basically commissioners for House of Assembly.
All the houses of assembly in this country and the governors, they sleep together and wake up together from the same bed, from the same room. They eat together.
The way they are teaching to go for campaigns.
Everything. And, so whatever the governor wants the House of Assembly to do is what the House will do. Pass a law blocking this road, they will pass. And that's the unfortunate story with this country. Until we correct that as a nation and make it possible for the governors to be afraid of what the House of Assembly will do.
During the time, I understand we tried to answer the question severally, and we were tired. Now that brings to fore the role of the judiciary in the nascent democracy of Nigeria. Would you say in the course of the year the judiciary has done well? Would you really give them a pass back? Because like we know, judiciary is supposed to be the last hope of the common man. Were they really the last hope of the common man? Let's see. Let's take Hannah on that. It's no longer nascent.
It's 23 years old, so I don't see what's nascent about that. Being the hope of people are still getting justice from judiciary, so we cannot say that the judiciary is ineffective. It's effective to some extent. It's effective. The truth is, it's effective because some people get what they want and not according to how it's stipulated in the law. And there are people also, without the judiciary, they wouldn't have.
The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory issued an ex parte order restraining the DSS, the Department of State Security, and the EFCC, the police, and the what do you call the other agency, from investigating the central bank governor.
Yeah.
Well, from the court. So it's certainly good news for Emefiele, but I know it is not good news for the EFCC. It's not good news for the DSS. It's not good news for the police. And
so why limiting them? Is it good news for Nigeria?
Well, the order is directly against them.
But yet again, they were acting on behalf of Nigerians.
Well, Tony, allow me to speak the grammar. But before I even delve into that, talking about the judiciary in Nigeria, 2022, I would say they've done well. I salute judges of this country. I salute them, magistrates, judges, chairmen of district courts, because they work under very terrible situations. Very, very Akwa Ibom. We also go to Cross River State and attend courts there. There are so many courts we go to, there are no fans. Air conditioners, I mean, that one is luxury. You know, a lot of things are not there. But you see these judges, which for me is an aberration. It shouldn't be so. Some of them use their money to buy paper for printing, which shouldn't be so. These things should be provided. So when I see the kind of environment that they work in, I salute them, you know, because they have sacrificed so much to assist the growth of Nigeria's democracy. Having said that, I expect more also from the post-independence. So it's one of the oldest institutions in this country. And one would expect that the judiciary should do more than it is currently doing. Now, a situation where one files an appeal and it takes 5 years for the appeal to be decided, at that time, a lot of things would have passed. The man that wanted his rights to be given to him would have died. They emanate from our courts recently. Most of the ex parte orders that emanate from our court. An ex parte order has been a problem for the judiciary in Nigeria for a long time now. Remember, if something like that is going to affect the right of another, there is need to call the other person to come to court, and then the court hears him out before taking that decision. The Emefiele matter that I read this afternoon, I understand that it was given ex parte. DSS, police, EFCC, they were not invited to come to court and argue to show reason why Emefiele should not be given such solid cover and precluding the security agencies from investigating him. Emefiele does not have immunity that deserves to be investigated, should be investigated, and therefore, I do not think that moving into 2023, the court should be so magnanimous with this kind of order that makes it impossible for a citizen of Nigeria. Remember, they are talking about 87 trillion investigation to be done. If it is investigated and Emefiele is clean like snow, no problem about that, it stops there. But if it is investigated and it is seen that there is such amount of money, we're talking about trillions of naira. Nigeria has just presented budget, and that budget is 21 trillion, that kind of application. But to say, okay, gentlemen, let the EFCC and the law enforcement agencies not be precluded from doing their work. We're talking about investigation. We're not talking about arrest or imprisonment. Let them investigate.
All right.
And if someone is found guilty,
I saw in the second one, I didn't see them being told not to investigate. They were told not to threaten to investigate him or detain him. That's against his human rights. So I do understand that it's dead and detained for more than what? How
24, 48 hours.
Charged to court or granted bail. So is it not in the same spirit that they're saying Emefiele shouldn't be arrested and detained when that's not been established? A charge has not been established against him.
Well, I don't think you understand where the court is coming from. Please, you have some questions to answer. There are some naughty areas here that need to be unraveled.
Yes.
Apart from you, a lot of other people will be questioned in line with this. This is strong allegation. And now, don't forget, this commission that investigated and discovered this was commissioned by the President of Nigeria. Then upon the conclusion of the investigation, hand over this report to people who are empowered to be in-depth and probably prosecute. There are no sacred cows. For the court to sit on its own and grant an order restricting people from accessing him, it's not a proper order to him. Well, I wouldn't say it's not a proper order to him on notice. Now, if they now come and present overwhelming evidence on the need to be inviting him from time to time, or need be, then the court ought to have done that. Yes, you want to say something?
Who keep saying ex parte order, because that's what is really causing all these whole issues throughout the year. So I'm asking, Mr. Tony, in the light of the recent happening in the system, do you think it should be ruled out entirely?
Yeah, well, since you directed the question to me, I'll make an attempt to answer it. Now, very recently, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court had made a position on the issuance of an application must not be taken outside the state where the event occurred. For instance, if there's an election petition or there's a complaint against a particular party, they're able to track. And you will not have judgment, orders from Port Harcourt saying arrest him, another one coming from Yola to say free him, another one coming from Zamfara. At that point, the agencies involved are thought in between and betwixt. Do I obey this? Do I obey that? Say the last step. And then time is running for performance of some actions. Now, ex parte orders are very necessary orders. And there are categories of them. There's ex parte orders, the Federal High Court was the ones gotten from the Federal High Court are not supposed to last for more than 14 days before an interim order can be gotten. Now, it is meant to assist the defensive party, the one, at least the victim party, to procure the settlement of the race, the security of the race. By race, I mean the subject matter, okay? secure it first, whilst you now file a proper application for the court to look at. So you see, you find out that the EFCC are empowered to first, by orders supposed to last for just 14 days. Then after then, the court expects you have settled down to carry out a proper investigation. 2 weeks is long enough for you to say, okay, this person is at fault or is not at fault, prima facie. If prima facie you think, so the law also provides that you don't arrest, detain, and investigate. Rather, you investigate. When you find culpable reason why you should prosecute, then you go for the arrest. And in some cases, the law says you cannot arrest without, there's an eyelash on your face, and a lot of Yahoo people look like you. They don't have the right to do that without a warrant. A warrant to say, we have followed this person closely, and we have found reason to bring him in for further questioning. Magistrate, court, the superior police officer, please endorse this warrant. He proves his case and walks away. But the man that is guilty might try to be evasive or aggressive. But with the order of court or the warrant of arrest, you can use force against him, compel him to come with you, because it's an order of court, not just an arbitrary interest. So ex parte applications are next.
On Emefiele, I saw one of the statements there was that it is only on the order of a higher court that they can continue, unless I misunderstood, but that's what I saw. So that's here and co. The right to.
Now, the law, the constitution provides that only a final judgment can go on appeal. Only a final order of court. So when you make an ex parte application where the other party was not heard, it's very, very interim. Very, very, you don't, it lapses after 7 days.
Yeah, I
automatically.
Know, I wanted to say that I've heard
yes.
people say
so no matter what was said,
other ex parte has an expiry date.
Yes, that's an expiry date by law, by friction of time.
But you know, there are some ex parte orders that are made pending the determination of the motion on notice.
No, usually, yes.
So
when you don't file a
application should be filed along with motion on notice. So some courts will say the ex parte order is granted pending the determination of the motion on notice.
It has been filed and the date
because it was granted pending the hearing and determination.
Yeah, you're right. But usually the Supreme Court has come out to say that the court don't have powers to extend the lifespan of an ex parte application. But you can come back after 14 days to renew it. So whether you couch it to say pending the determination of the motion on notice, that motion on notice ought to also have what is called reasonable time. 1 year is not reasonable time for a motion. Don't forget, the hardness of the case is there. So you cannot use the processes of court. That's an abuse of the court process. You cannot use a process of court to obstruct justice.
Well, you see, my take on this is, like I said, the courts have done so well. They work under very crazy situations. A lot of people do not want to be judges or magistrates in this same country. They have the opportunity to be, and they say no because of the working conditions. So what should not also be a clock on the wheel of the security agencies? They should be allowed to investigate. So much harm has been done to this country by a lot of people, by politicians and by some appointees of governments. You know, people heading parastatals, agents era was to be, the face of the Naira note was to be changed to another color. You saw the panic. You saw people, huge sums of money that were buried in graves. And that's, for me, is wickedness of the highest order. In that environment where the graves have been dug for those sums of money, there are poor people there and so on. So, circumspect in restricting, in restraining security agencies from carrying on with investigation, provided the investigation is done within the ambits of the law. The CBN governor is not above the law, so he can't be invited for investigation, because this law must be seen, must be practiced in such a way that there is equality before the law. And as a matter of fact, Emefiele is the governor of the central bank, and some other persons would have taken themselves to the investigating agencies to say, I'm here, investigate me. The allegation is not true. I'm here. What do you want? I give you all the facts. And that way, Emefiele will have more honor in the eyes of many Nigerian citizens to investigate anybody who doesn't have immunity. And then if the person is found culpable, let the person be made to face the trial in a court of law.
All right, before we continue the conversation, the numbers to call if you're trying to call in is 090-222-310-070-454-17707. Repeat that alternative number, 070-454-17707. If you want to call, join the conversation, ask any questions that you're interested in, please feel free to do that. Now, answer one for the non-politicians, because you seem to see that law doesn't follow its course when some parties are involved. When other parties are involved, the law follows its course and a strict adherence to it. Law is a prophecy of what the court will do and nothing more pretentious. In Nigeria today, we seem to see that laws are not necessarily the prophecies of what the court will do, application overnight. And people like you and I are investigated and locked up. Some people are in the EFCC custody for months on end, and you file several applications on 87 trillion naira, more than 3 years budget of Nigeria. And the court is saying, don't investigate him, let him work. He's doing service to humanity. So would you say, I think I'll come to you, Hannah, on that, because you seem to also have a strong opinion on whether or not there are two sets of laws for Nigerians.
People get what they ask the court for. That's what I've seen. You go in there and ask for what you want, the court gives it. So people get justice according to the law, and others get what they just asked the court for.
Can you expatiate on that? Because you can't say one gets according to the law, the other gets because he has asked.
Are done. Some of the orders that are issued are not according to the law. But what I've seen is someone went to court and requested, and his request is granted. Simple.
Now
the Emefiele thing, as you people are here saying Emefiele went and asked, what I read is people who felt that Emefiele's human rights was fundamental rights, this man's rights away from him, and the court told them, fine, we uphold fundamental human rights of people. Emefiele is being harassed and detained, so do not, because you are. I do not see us saying that Emefiele, please let's not sit down here and say Emefiele went to court and asked. It wasn't Emefiele that went. So
can you
Nigerians
look into their face? And
because
you are not
do not
interested.
know them. Unfortunately for you, you're not known. So if people know you, they'll go and ask on your behalf, and the courts will give it to you.
Well, it's Act Commission, so they went and sought for the enforcement of the fundamental rights of Emefiele. So it's not even Emefiele himself that went. It's
not the voice of Jacob.
So it's unfortunate that the people who are languishing there.
It's Emefiele, because the order was clear. Emefiele mentioning his name, the order, and so on. You know, that is made possible because of the fundamental rights enforcement procedure rules.
Generous nature of it.
No, the 2009 fundamental rights enforcement procedure rules made it possible for a badge to stop by, carry him into your car, take him to the hospital, and so on, which is beautiful. Remember, that's the piece of the rules, the fundamental rights enforcement procedure rules, which a lot of people have said deserves amendment, deserves review to catch up with the time. It came as a piece of, let me call it legislation loosely, a piece of legislation that a lot of people applauded, and that gives bystanders, neighbors, family members, and everybody to go to court and seek the enforcement of fundamental rights of a fellow person. However, I have been saying that that provision is in conflict with the provision of section 44, either 44 or 43 of the Constitution, which says that, in fact, it personalizes that the person, any person, it says any person whose fundamental rights is breached or is threatened to be breached shall go. It will not accommodate another person whose fundamental rights has not been breached at all. Like in this
I think you're talking like a lecturer. You're killing the essence of that law. The essence of that law was to ensure that if the military or the police arrest you and keep him from the cardo, another person can step in and ask that you be released.
Okay, let me allow that law to be.
Yes, you allow it. You allow it.
When the time.
There's this meddlesome interloper thing that
it comes in here.
It doesn't come in there. That's why.
Okay, let's allow that law to be. A day will come.
Yes.
So, all in all, I still feel that the court should allow the enforcement agencies, the police, DSS, EFCC, to do their job, because I know they did not just wake up one day to arrest Emefiele. They did not just wake up one day to do it. They must have conducted investigations and then found out, or perhaps found out that it's true. The police and the DSS, EFCC to do that.
If I want to go by Keminis principle, maybe the court is interpreting section 308. Hello? Yes, can we? Hello? Hello? Oh, we lost that caller. All right. If maybe the court is interpreting the what?
Oh, that would be fine.
Yes.
In my church, there's a position for governor, the governor of the feast.
That's feast, after the feast.
So if the interpretation,
yeah, because I failed to see why the court would try to shield him. But be that as it may, let's go to the fundamentals now, or convicted and sentenced, are yet to be declared guilty onto the Court of Appeal. I think that's one of the stronger points closing out 2022.
It wasn't because you're guilty and the person moves ahead to the Supreme Court. That means it's still the Supreme Court that it's
so let's start with you, Hannah.
What are you starting with?
Why am I starting with?
What are you starting with?
Yeah, we're asking the question. Was the court, was the legislature, the National Assembly, right to even contemplate? Because a couple of their members have been convicted of crimes.
Well, they didn't say that it was because a couple
I'm asking a question. I didn't say they were.
They were proposing a law.
Which I understand has received accelerated hearing.
Well, Section 182, Sub 1 of the Constitution, which talks about disqualification from office of governor. It says as once someone is convicted, the person is disqualified from contesting for the office of governor. But Sub 2 of that same section says...
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, this is the guy speaking.
Good evening, sir.
Go on, sir.
This is Oku, you are speaking.
Please, can you be louder?
Hello?
Yes.
Please, I want to ask a question.
Please ask.
What is in Nigeria Constitution if somebody has been judged on the past judgment of justice and the person still stand for election to be a governor or to do anything in society?
All right. I didn't get your name anyway, but the community is attempting to say something along those lines. Let's allow him round up. Thank you, sir.
So, whereas 182 Sub 1 Sub D says that if you are convicted by a court of law of competent jurisdiction, you are no more qualified to stand election for the office of governor. That same section, but Sub 2 says that if you have filed an appeal in a higher court, then the conviction stays in abeyance. It is not activated yet, and therefore you can still contest for the office. Expand it more than that and say that, okay, everybody in Nigeria, once you're convicted. But if you say everybody in Nigeria, if you are convicted, it is until the appellate court confirms your conviction. Then you are reducing
the high courts.
The high courts. The high courts are very effective. They have heard the evidence, and the judgment has, the judge has said, based on the evidence presented before me and my interpretation of the law, I find you guilty. Then the person should go on appeal, but nothing should stop the sentence of guilt, from running until the appeal is determined by the Court of Appeal and also by the Supreme Court. But when you want to keep it in abeyance and say this man should be seen as if he has never been pronounced guilty, and you want to amend the Constitution for that, I think it's stretching the bounds of legislative powers.
Towards to 2023, and can I have your last words? Can I start with you?
Well, my last word is that I thank God for the year 2022 from January till this time. I appreciate our listeners, and I encourage you to continue listening to Legally Speaking. I can only pray that 2023 will be.
It's in it.
Okay. Oh, thank you for listening, viewers and listeners. But I want to say that we should be positive in the next year. That we should just stay positive.
Away every Fridays from 5 to 6 on Planet Radio and Spectrum TV. And I believe we are even expanding into a third station. If you tune into Planet Radio on this period or the various stations that will be on, you have an opportunity to learn the law unbiased. Coming here from the very, very good roads of Ibiakuran, I'm grateful for Hada Ese, though a teacher, but she's really grappled to understand the law and it's working. 18 Daniels too is coming up very strong. She has been called to the bar very recently, and I'm appreciative of the fact that she legal.
Which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Ibom.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leaving the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about.
Sorry, but I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us